Hi everyone, this is your host Prasha and welcome to Her STEM Stories, episode number 57. Before we get started, I have a quick request. If you listen to our show on an Apple device, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. Even a couple of sentences will help us a lot. This helps us gain ranking on iTunes podcasts and also helps us get discovered faster. So thank you in advance if you do that. And then if you do, we'll give you a shout out on the show. So thank you so much. Really, this will mean a lot to us. Today is our 4th episode in our Moms in STEM series. And I'm so excited to talk to Isabel, who is a single mom of 4 kids and lives in France. She also has a PhD in genetics and is currently working on phenomenal science communication projects. So keep listening because this is a great episode.
Welcome to Her STEM Story, a podcast about real women with extraordinary science, technology, engineering, and mathematics stories. In this show, we'll talk to some absolutely inspiring women and highlight some women-led organizations in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We'll learn more about their work, their struggles, and how they think we can close the gender gap in STEM professions. Keep listening to get inspired.
Motherhood is one of the most precious things about being a woman. Media has time and again let us down with terrible portrayals of successful women who have to choose between work and families. The mother's guilt is also largely fueled by these stories. Life for moms in STEM comes with its own set of challenges. And as someone who really wants to have kids and a successful career in STEM, I'm curious to learn how women are maneuvering this tricky path. So to celebrate Mother's Day, we started on this journey to interview wonderful moms in STEM. And this is our 4th and final installment. Our guest today is a single mom of 4 kids, a PhD in genetics, and is now pursuing academic editing full-time. Isabel Torres is an inspiring mom in STEM. She runs an editing consultancy and a fantastic blog called PrettySmartScience.com, where she shares resources and highlights women in STEM. From finding her unique path in cell biology to being a stay-at-home mom and now being a full-time science editor, Isabel has evolved a lot in her STEM journey. Let's talk to Isabel to learn more about her fabulous STEM story. Hi, Isabel. How are you?
Hi, Prasha. I'm very good. Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time all the way from France.
Thank you for inviting. It's such an honor.
So you're probably our first guest from France.
Oh, good. Merci.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I went to France last year and I went to Paris, but I wish I had time to go to other places because big cities are not always a great representation of the country, right?
I'm in the south, so I'm in the sunny bit.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So your story is so interesting. 4 kids.
Yes.
How do you manage that and still find time to talk to us? That's incredible.
A lot of people ask me that question, and I always say, first, I'm very, very tired, which is normal as a parent. You just, and then you just get on with things. You have to do it, and you just have to go with it. And I think you probably heard this from other moms. When we have kids, you reach a level of sleep deprivation and tiredness that you really just get used to it. It just becomes your normal. Yeah. And you realize you can do so much more than what you used to do before.
Yes.
You really find strength that you didn't know you have. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and you just adapt. Yeah. And I have great kids. I'm pretty lucky, I think.
No, yeah, every mom says that. So that's definitely a constant that, oh my God, we're so efficient. We're always definitely working. There's no time to chill or sit down or not do anything. There's always something to do. And I can only imagine with a full house, that must be super interesting. So to get started with your story, what I first want to know is more about little Isabel when she was growing up and what was it that got you interested in STEM?
So I was always a curious child. I was the type of child that I was always trying to figure out how things work. I liked fixing things and nature. But I think what really got me into science and cell biology in particular, was quite late in high school. So I knew I wanted something science related, but I was hesitating with arts, which is also quite common, I think, for scientists to also like arts. And then in high school, we used microscopes to see cells, and it was the first time I was looking at a microscope, and I remember seeing onion cells, onion root cells dividing, with chromosomes marked, and I was just completely mesmerized. And for me, that was the key moment. I really knew this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a lab, but then I was still kind of drifted a little bit in what I would research, but I ended up doing cell biology, and it's passion.
That's awesome, because that reminds me that even I had that onion peel experiment.
Yes. It's beautiful. It's beautiful cells.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you grew up in Portugal?
I grew up in Portugal, and I moved to the UK when I was 19, 20 to do a summership in a lab, and I never went back.
That's awesome. How was it growing up, and how was it actually moving within the Europe? Is it much more easier, more, the transition, if you will, was much more easier? Was it a little bit more challenging?
So moving to the UK at that time, it was pretty smooth, actually. First, I adapted quite well to the culture, and I was in Cambridge, and Cambridge is like a bubble, because it's very academic, and I really felt myself. I was really happy. It was harder to move to France, because this is not such an international city, so it's mostly people that have always lived here. So it's harder to integrate in a culture like this. And also, I think it depends on the stage of your life, because when I went to the UK, I was a student, I was single, I was a student. It's easier to meet people, you have time to have a social life. When I moved to France, I already had 3 children. I had a newborn and a family. So it is harder, to get a social life and meet people.
Yeah.
So it took me much longer to adapt to France, definitely. Also the language barrier, English is like my second, I'm bilingual, but French, I really struggled. I still struggle a little bit. So it was harder, but I'm quite happy now.
Yeah, no, that's
once you get to know the culture and the people, then it's okay.
Yeah, you'd agree that nice people are nice everywhere.
Exactly. You just have to find them. It might take a while, but you have to get used to them, learn the little, because cultures really change so much. You can't generalize people, but there are cliches that are true. In general, people will behave a certain way. Portuguese people, when we meet another Portuguese person, it's like we've always knew each other. We become personal very quickly, and so it's very hard to adapt to other cultures. That maybe takes longer. People take longer to trust you and start to open themselves to you. So, but once you know these little things, then it's okay.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So, how far apart are your kids?
So the twins are 11, number 3 is 7, and the youngest is 3. So they are between 3 to 4 years apart.
So your hands are full.
Yes, well, they keep each other busy as well, so that helps.
Yeah. So your twins were born at the end of your PhD. Tell us a little bit about that experience, being in academia, and then also trying to embrace this new part of your life.
It was hard. It was very hard. First, you never expect to have twins. You just think you're going to have one and it's going to be great, and then you have 2. And I was very happy, and a boy and a girl. I was ecstatic. But the pregnancy is completely different from a single baby pregnancy. And at the time, there were very few resources, even online, for twin pregnancy. So I felt very alone. For example, I felt absolutely exhausted from the beginning. I could hardly walk, even when I wasn't very big. And then I could see, friends, other people, other women who were pregnant with just one baby, and I was like, oh, I'm full of energy. Oh, no. The second trimester is supposed to be the one where you have energy and you feel great. And I just felt crap. So I didn't have anyone I could talk to. I didn't feel understood. So that was quite hard, psychologically. And the other thing was that I had to stop work early because I had a risky pregnancy. I was at risk of preterm birth. One of the babies wasn't very happy. It was smaller. So, having to stop my PhD prematurely, I didn't have time to finish my experiment. So that was quite hard as well. But, once the babies are here, then you're happy. And I adapt very quickly to situations, but it's difficult.
Yeah. What was the one thing that you wished that or that academia had provided you at that time of struggle that you went through?
Well, I think I was lucky that I was in a very supportive lab and people were very happy. But for example, I didn't have any maternity pay. Your scholarship ends and that's it. Wow. So that's hard. But my boss was very supportive and he managed to find sort of a grant to support me in the beginning. But this is an exception, not everyone can do that. And people in the lab were very nice and supportive, but I don't know, things just change.
Yeah.
I discussed this with other moms, and I think we all feel this. Things change, the way people see you change, and you feel somehow less competent, and you are perceived as less competent. So I guess I wished that I had someone I could talk to support me, and that there would have been resources, that I could have been assured that someone would finish my experiments, or I would have extra time and I would have a maternity pay.
Yeah.
So basic stuff and more complex things.
Yeah. And I feel like every time I talk to mothers, it's, it's not like they're asking for a rocket ship. It's not like we're asking for, give me diamonds and give me all this money. It's just very basic stuff that you would give to anyone who's sick, right? You'd give them sick leave. You would give them, you would not judge them when they come back after knee surgery or a hip surgery or a heart surgery or a chemotherapy, right? You won't judge them. You won't say, oh, because you have cancer, now you're less competent. Obviously not. And so that is very saddening that across the world, that perception that when women have kids, they somehow become less competent. I'm not saying that everyone's like that, but that's the a majority of people who believe that or who think like that.
Yes, I mean there is research showing that. There's actually research that there's research. There's several papers that show that mothers are perceived as less competent, less committed to their work. So it's discrimination. That's the word.
Correct, I know.
It is discrimination.
Yeah, and now I think from your first experiences, I would think that Europe has probably come a little bit longer way because sitting in America, we definitely look up to Europe for their healthcare, their maternity leaves, and all the benefits that they provide their people. France has less working hours also, which is great. So I'm sure it has come a long way, but I still hear the same. I wish they had more support. I mean, some moms have told us on this show that I wish they had a feeding room.
Yes, but those things lack in Europe as well, And it's not just the maternity pay, that in Europe it's better, and but it varies between countries. But of course, compared to the US, is better. But it's also paternity leave because women might want to go back to work early and they can't, and men might want to stay with their children and they can't. So this affects both women and men.
Yes.
Are both affected. And in my case, I didn't really have, academia is even worse because there isn't such a thing as maternity leave. You have your fellowship or your scholarship, it ends and that's it. Especially in my case, people like me that have the child at the end of the scholarship. But I had my twins, they were born prematurely. We had to stay in hospital, and my husband at the time, he had to go back to work, even as a scientist, and he's a scientist as well. So I was left alone in the hospital with 2 premature kids, no family or anyone to support me. And, that's not normal. I don't think it's normal,
Yeah.
So parents, fathers should also have, the choice of having
Yeah.
as much paternity leave as they want, and women should also have the choice. They shouldn't be forced to take a
Yeah.
certain time.
Yeah, and if you think about it, this is probably one of our most important jobs as humans, is to grow our species and evolve.
Definitely.
It's
And it's
not
the
like
hardest job as well.
I know, and it's not like, oh, we can just be like, hey, people are not going to have kids anymore. It's interesting, and I hope that we make progress faster than we have in the last
Yes, I
50
think
years or so.
it
But
has to happen.
yeah, and with the work that you're doing, I think you are going to pioneer this in some way, shape, or form. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about how then you changed your career course and ended up finding something that you absolutely love in the form of academic editing and science communication and all that new path that you're on now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So it was a long transition. Let me just stress that from the beginning. I didn't just decide. And I think it's important to say that because I see a lot of students in academia struggling with this. So during my PhD, I started feeling that I wasn't completely happy with research. I'm the type of person that I always wanted to be a scientist. From the moment I fell in love with science, this is what I want to do. So it was very hard to admit to myself that maybe this isn't it. And then it took me a long time to admit this. And then once you admit this, so what am I going to do now? So it was really hard. So I still did a postdoc after the PhD, and when I started my postdoc, I was motivated. I was, let's give research another go. And then, 1 year and a half into my postdoc, I started having the same sort of feelings. And for me, it wasn't so much, academia in itself, that it's difficult with the short-term contracts and all that. For me, it was really the doing research, at least in my field. I felt it was too specific, and I wanted to learn other things about science. It was not just spend 4 years working on a particular protein. And then during my postdoc, I started, I don't know what I want to do instead, so I need to start trying other things. And I came across science communication. I started doing science outreach, and then I started organizing my projects, like a microscope for schools, co-organized a science film festival. I organized science seminars for the public, a lot of things. And, that made me very happy. I really enjoyed that. I still wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but at least I knew that there was something else other than research that I liked. And this really gave me the courage to do the leap and leave academia, even if I wasn't sure what I wanted to do completely. So then my husband at the time, he's a researcher. He found a job in France. So I did the classic move of following my husband. And I was pregnant of my third child. So it was all very quick. I didn't have time to find a job in France before moving. And, I was moving country and changing careers and having a new baby. So I think it's 3 huge things in life that I was doing at the same time, and it's quite challenging. Yeah. So I had planned to be a stay-at-home mom for a year to enjoy my kids and take time to find a job in science communication. But so it happened that after 2 months, I was completely bored of staying at home with the baby. And so I started a science blog, and I discovered I loved writing. So I wanted to become active again. So I started doing science writing as a freelance, and then to make more money, because it's difficult to break into science writing, I started to do academic editing, because I was already editing for friends, the friends would ask me to edit their papers. And then a friend of a friend, someone recommended someone to me. So it was my first paid job. So I decided to launch the company, and my company has been growing since then. And it was also, a very good job for this phase of my life, because the kids are little, and, working from home and being my own boss gives me the flexibility for the family. And now to start my other side projects. So that's how I started doing the science writing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And academic editing.
Yeah, which is so cool. I think you said it really well, that transitions take some time. It sometimes unfolds over a decade, 5 years, and when you're young,
I still feel this is still a transition,
Yeah, so you're always in transition.
Exactly. Life is just a very long transition. I'm just setting up my project in science communication. I just started last year, and now I feel that things are starting to fit into place. So I normally think, people normally see life as a line, a line that you can have detours. You do one thing after the other, you get married, you have kids, you buy the house, and so on. But more and more I see life as like a puzzle, like you're fitting pieces of that puzzle, and sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't, and you remove them. And as you grow, you start having an image, an image starts emerging, and that image is yourself, it's getting to know yourself and figuring out what makes you happy. So I really think it takes a lifetime to figure out who you are and what makes you happy.
Yeah. I think it's the quest to find why you're here. And if you're lucky, you'll find it. If you're not lucky, you'll find a million things that you're here to do, right? If it may not be the one thing that you're here to do, which is amazing.
Yeah, and it's hard because there's so much pressure from society and the people around you to behave and to be a certain person. Women certainly, I think we feel a lot of pressure to be, everything, perfect mothers, perfect at work, everything. And men have the pressure to be breadwinners and to be tough. And, and it took me a long time to get out of these stereotypes and these pressures, and to really figure out what is it that I want and who I am. And I'm still figuring it out. But once you start releasing yourself from all that pressure and stereotypes, it's so good, it's so great, and I think this is when you can start to become truly happy, I think.
Yeah, because I think stereotypes not only damage the image for people who are in these fields, or just genders in general, but they also force us, as you said, to conform to those, and thereby like kind of not letting us be creative, not letting us be ourselves, or exploring other things that we may have options for. So tell us a little bit about your blog, Pretty Smart Science. What's it all about, and what kind of content do you share?
So Pretty Smart Science is a resource or a platform that aims to really promote the understanding of science and empower the public to make informed decisions. And this might sound very cliche, but I think it's very important. And I try to do that by combining art. I wanted to make a website that is very beautiful and attractive, to the public. So I really want also to create a space where, aspiring artists can express themselves. So I now have 2 illustrators working with me. And I also want to use videos and science writing, so articles, because there are a lot of blogs around, and excellent science blogs around. And I didn't want to just make another one. I already had a science blog in the past. So I really wanted to do something very interactive, and where also the public could give feedback. So this is why I'm very active on Instagram, trying to interact with the public. I also publish mini articles there. And the idea is to create a platform that is relatable and attractive and accessible and really reach the public. Because the problem with science communication and science blogs is that often you end up just reaching scientists or people who are already interested in science. So I really want to reach the public. I hope to.
Yeah.
We'll see. So it combines science articles and videos. At the moment, the videos are interviews to women in STEM, but in the future, I would like to expand and do other type of videos when I have more time.
Yeah.
And art.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a beautiful website for sure. And we'll include the link in the episode notes so people can go check it out. And, you're also starting the Mothers in Science project. Can you share a little bit about that? Or is it still under wraps and it's launching June 14th, right? Yes,
very soon. So in 10 days.
Yeah.
No, I can speak a bit about that. So Mothers in Science, it comes out of, so one of the goals of Pretty Smart Science is promoting science and encouraging, and the other goal is to encourage women to pursue and stay in careers in science as well. And part of that obviously goes through motherhood, because, becoming a mother is one of the reasons women eventually leave academia or leave science altogether, either for, directly or indirectly. So, and as a mom in science myself, I felt all these things I spoke about and other things, feeling invisible, feeling that people perceive me as less competent, or that people assume that I'm no longer ambitious at work. And, these are things that they are very subtle and sometimes unconscious, and I didn't realize at the time. But I do realize now that this affected my confidence at the time. And obviously all the other, discrimination problems, they are more visible. Yeah. So we wanted, so I spoke with Sonal, and we felt the same way, and we thought there was the need to have a space where first women could discuss about these issues, because we all go through this, but we don't talk about it. I was talking to Sonal, oh, this happened to me. Oh, this happened, and I didn't know other people went through the same. You just assume it's you, and this is the problem with these very subtle biases, is that women always assume they are the problem. So the only way to counteract that is to discuss these issues. So Mothers in Science, we aim to raise awareness for these issues and start a friendly discussion around the challenges that women face at work. And we also want to create a community, to connect moms in science, so that we can support one another. And I think this is crucial, so women start to have the confidence and become empowered to fight these challenges when they come across them, and also recognize the challenges, because sometimes we don't even see them.
Yeah.
So we're just about to launch, and we'll start with an Instagram account. And we will create a community on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And we're going to create discussion groups so women we can talk to each other and discuss these problems. And then in the long time, other things will come. Yeah. I can't unveil those yet.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to create a community, and we hope women join, moms will join, and we start discussing these issues. And then once we identify them, it will also be easier to tackle them together.
Yes, yes.
So I think starting with a support network, it's already something I didn't have, and I wish I had.
Correct.
When I was facing these challenges myself.
Yeah.
Really good. I mean, we've had really excellent feedback, and I think many moms have been saying, "Oh, I really wish something like this existed."
Yes. Because I think they have Moms Can Code. There's a lot of stuff around coding. I think even the industry itself in tech is more receptive to supporting their people. And I mean, I'm not, again, probably generalizing, but they're more they have more money, they have more resources in terms of what they can do for the employees, from nap pods to food to daycares to everything, right? And you may not have that. You definitely don't have that in academia. You don't have that in sciences, and you don't have that in just other professions. So I'm sure there's a huge need for it, and I wish you all the best with that. So to wrap up, tell us, what is that one takeaway that our audience can take from your story?
I think from my personal experience, I think it is crucial that we believe in ourselves and always carry on, never give up, persistence, self-confidence, it is self-belief, it is crucial. And I think it is something I learned, and I tell people, you cannot listen to the negative voices around you. You have to just carry on, believe in yourself, because there will always be people who will put you down, who will tell you, no, that's not possible, your idea is ridiculous. And, and sometimes people are well-intentioned and they're trying to help you, but they don't, because they make you feel guilty, So you have to believe in yourself, carry on, and, it's never too late. You're never too old. And, even if you're not paid to do what you love in the beginning, just do it anyway. And you never know what might happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. So my last question is, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is... it's from a Portuguese poet that is called Fernando Pessoa. He was an amazing poet, and he has this book that was my late grandfather. He gave it to me, I don't know, when I was about 14. And I always used to keep it in my bag for a long time, and I keep on coming back to it. And it's about, it's poetic prose, and it's just little, thoughts that he has, nothing special, just the way he writes it's incredible. It's just so beautiful. And this is the book I keep getting back at, to. It would be translated to the Book of Restlessness.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. I love this question because it opens up so many different kinds of books that are out there, and the stories that people have associated with the book. So it's amazing. Again, thank you so much, Isabel, for your time.
Thank you so much, Prasha.
And for all the great things that you're doing. We hope to collaborate in the future in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely love what you and Sol are doing on Instagram by yourself. I can't imagine the combined powers of two of you and what magic it's going to create. So we're all rooting for you and cheering for you, and hoping that we can make science and STEM a better place for moms and dads,
Thank you. Yes, as well, of course.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
And that was Isabel Torres with her incredible STEM story. Please use the links in the episode notes to follow Isabel and her amazing work. Tomorrow, we're starting our Pride Month series. Yes, I'm so excited for this because I'm very excited to learn how we can support our friends in the LGBTQ+ in STEM communities. And our first guest is Rob Ulrich, who is the founder of Queers in STEM organization in UCLA. And I'm super excited for this conversation because we will be talking about how we all can support minorities in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for this amazing episode. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.